Hello and welcome back to the Odds Now YouTube channel for your daily darts preview ahead of tonight's World Grand Prix semi-finals. Yes, we're down to 4 in Leicester and it's an unlikely lineup, I must admit, but there is a very familiar name at the top of the betting. Luke Humphries still standing after beating Johnny Clayton 3-1 last night. A game he had to survive a few hairy moments and he will take on Ryan Joyce, one of two big surprise packages in this tournament. Relentless overcoming Rob Cross 3-2 in a fantastic game. And then the other underdog story of this tournament, Mike De Decker, continued his fairy tale run at the expense of our 100-1 outright selection, James Wade, beating Wade 3-0, although the game was a bit tighter than that scoreline suggests. And he'll take on his fellow Belgian, Dimitri van den Bergh, so we're guaranteed a Belgian in the final. A very interesting betting market for that one as well. And yeah, a tough old game to call. Obviously, a Humphreys, a warm favourite to beat Joyce. But I think looking at this semi-final lineup, you have to say you'd be very surprised if Luke Humphries doesn't go on and defend his crown now. But with stranger things have happened. All four are in good form and have their own pros and cons. So without further ado, going to have a little look at both of these semi-finals in greater detail and see if we can unearth some winners, as we did yesterday. Anybody that watched yesterday's video, well, we had 3 winners from 3 selections. Advised Ryan Joyce to beat Rob Cross at 2-1, which came in, and then we backed Dimitri van den Bergh against Joe Cullen at 4-5, and we also had Dimitri on the handicap to win 3-1 or better, which he did. So 4-5 and 17-10 winners there on the final game of the night. So a really good evening overall, apart from losing James Wade, which was starting to look like a hell of a bet, but always dangerous and difficult in this format to predict. But hopefully we can continue that match betting form into today. So I'll dive straight into the semi-final, which is that all Belgian affair that I discussed earlier. Mike De Decker versus Dimitri van den Bergh. Well, De Decker just continues to defy the odds, and he's beaten Damon Heta in a first-round game where he had to dodge match darts. But since then, it's been plain sailing for the real deal. He beat Gary Anderson and James Wade, both in straight sets, 3-0. Worth noting at this point as well that these semi-finals are our best of 9. So instead of needing to win 3 sets, you need to win 5 sets. That'll be a first, going over that kind of distance and format for De Decker and for Ryan Joyce to a lesser extent. He's obviously got some World Championship deep run experience, so he has been used to playing long set games. But this is a first for De Decker. But hey, he's conquering a lot of firsts this week, isn't he? And he's making it look pretty easy along the way. Against Wade, well, his fantastic record of doubling in on that double 16 continued. And that has been sort of the foundation of his run, hasn't it? Getting into legs so well. He is getting in better than anybody else. And that is something that was referenced by Dimitri van den Bergh, who not only is his countryman, but a good friend and I believe they've been roommates this week and now they're playing each other in the semi-finals. So that's a little quirk there. But yeah, Dimitri in his press conference afterwards told Darts Now, our partner channel, that he believes Mike De Decker is the favourite to win this tournament because of how well he's been doubling in this week. And Dimitri, I'm not sure he has a great grasp of how odds are compiled, but I do understand the point he's getting at, really, because doubling in is so important in this format, this unique format. And De Decker is doing that better than anyone else, even Luke Humphries. So if he continues to double in at the rate he has done, he has a great chance, doesn't he? And he has a good chance tonight. Interestingly, when this market opened up, De Decker was an even money chance and Dimitri was 4-5. They've actually flip-flopped. So they've swapped in the market. And now Dimitri comes into this as the outsider. There's actually some 21-20 available on Van den Bergh for this one. And that is the way I'm going. So look, on the raw form, you would say Mike De Decker is a worthy favourite. I understand why the money has came for him. However, I do think there's so many variables that go into these kind of matches, and as much as the form and the doubling in is with De Decker at the moment, look at Dimitri van den Bergh's major record. He's so good in these kind of games at finding a way to get it done. It normally takes a fantastic performance to get rid of the Belgian on the big stage. And furthermore, obviously, you've got this friendship dynamic with him and De Decker, which I think plays into Van den Bergh's hands, actually. Thought that was really interesting in the press conference last night. He was saying that he thinks Mike De Decker's the favourite to win the whole competition. He can kind of frame that as just bigging up his friend, but I think he knows what he's doing there. Dimitri sort of projecting the pressure off himself. He's quite happy for people to be talking about De Decker, and he'll really fancy his chances here deep down, with good reason as well. Now, I was doing a little bit of a dig into the stats. Dimitri van den Bergh has actually won the last 5 meetings between these two, which is an unbelievable run. And obviously, both players will be very conscious of that. Now, 4 of those wins have been on the Players' Championship on the floor. Now, you could question the relevancy of that, but for me, that actually makes it even more relevant because Dimitri traditionally is not a good floor player at all. We very rarely see him bring his best to Players' Championship events. But the fact that he's beaten De Decker 4 times in a row in the Players' Championship tells me that he always likes to raise his game when he plays De Decker. And I have no doubt he'll do the same again here. Now, one thing I would say about Dimitri is in his last 2 games, we've seen him start quite slowly and then really warm to the task, and by the end of the game be producing some fantastic darts. I think he could do without a slow start tonight, to be honest, because De Decker, if he gets his tail up and gets in front, could be a hard man to pin back. However, you certainly do have time on your side in this format. Winning 5 sets is a good old slog, and if Dimitri does hit that sort of mid-90s average by set 3, set 4, then De Decker is going to have to, he's going to be bang under pressure, isn't he? He won't be able to miss anything. And yeah, that's why I'm leaning towards Van den Bergh here. Now, I really hope Mike De Decker can continue to bring the level that we've seen from him over the last few nights. But I do fear that there is going to be a bump in the road somewhere. And perhaps the fact that he's playing in a new, longer format in the biggest game of his career today against somebody he is friendly with and knows so well, and someone of such experience, that this might be the night that he just falls a little bit below those outstanding standards that we've seen. And while I don't think that's a certainty, I do think that the current price is making him favourite against Van den Bergh. I think there is a chance that De Decker just doesn't quite show up here, and Dimitri's too strong. And yeah, Dimitri is a bet for me at 21 to 20. I'm also going to have a little flutter on Dimitri minus 2.5 sets. So that would be to win 5-2 or better, which might seem quite extreme, but I do think if Dimitri wins this, it could be probably not the best game to watch visually, but it could be quite a emphatic performance from him, and maybe an underperformance from his opponent. So for that reason, I thought 3-1 about Dimitri minus 2.5 sets was also worth having on side. So in the second semi-final, then Luke Humphries versus Ryan Joyce. I can't remember too many major semi-finals from recent years where one player's been going off around 1-7, 1-8, and the other one 5-1. Makes it seem like a complete mismatch, which I think is very unfair on Ryan Joyce. And I'm not about to make a case for Ryan Joyce shocking Luke Humphries and knocking him out. I just think this game is going to be a lot tighter than those odds suggest. For one, the double in format, as we've seen all week, is a massive leveler, and Joyce, it's no flash in the pan here. Look at the players he's knocked out. He's beaten Josh Rock, Nathan Aspinall, and Rob Cross. I mean, he's not had an easy draw, has he? He's had to bring his best every time, show bottle in some big moments. Yes, Rock was a little bit flat on opening night, and we backed Joyce there at 7-4. But there's been no fluke about his wins over Aspinall or Cross. He's really had to go to the depths, go into last set deciders, bring his best starts. There's been clutch finishing. There's some fantastic finishing against Aspinall, a couple of really high pressure combination finishes, and then same again last night against Cross, a 1-3-5 and a 1-3-2, including 2 bullseyes. So he's warming to the task, isn't he, Joyce? He clearly just loves this format. He's coming in with no pressure or expectation on his shoulders, and he's a very, very difficult man to beat. But then again, so is his opponent tonight, Luke Humphries, another Houdini act from him. Last night, he was 1-all with Johnny Clayton, 2-0 down in what felt like a pivotal third set. And Clayton was a mile ahead in leg 3. He wasted set darts. And Humphries, who was a mile behind for the entire leg, then stepped up to take out 1-4-6. Really, probably the finish of the week for me. And then obviously off the back of that, 2 minutes later, Humphries is stealing the set from under Clayton's nose, and he managed to close it out 3-1. A case of what might have been for Johnny Clayton, who we had a little in-play flutter on at 25-1. He was odds on in running in that match, so that's a little bit of a sickener for us. But yeah, you just can't argue with Humphries' quality, can you? In the big moments, even when he's not playing well, which I would say he's not playing at his very best at the moment, he still finds ways to win, and he seems to have an understanding that reminds me of Taylor, really, of when the big moment is in the game and when he needs to just turn it on and do something special. And when you feel like a game's just about to get away from him, he so often just pulls it back in. And I think he has this fear factor among the other players. I know obviously Wade and Anderson this week have spoke about Humphries and said he doesn't get enough credit. You don't realise how special he is. The media don't give him enough bigging up. And that's serious respect coming from players of Anderson and Wade's calibre. And that probably tells you that the players have a little bit of a fear factor of him and know that when you have a chance to beat him, you have to beat him there and then, or he's going to come back and beat you. And we saw it against Bunting. Bunting missed his chance. Humphries came back. As soon as Humphries started coming back into that game, there was only one winner. Same again last night, wasn't it? As soon as Clayton missed that chance and Humphries took that 1-4-6, there was only one winner. He has that air of invincibility, air of inevitability, and the ability to just turn a game on its head when it seems lost. So that's why it's really difficult to oppose Humphries. But I do think these prices are so disrespectful to Ryan Joyce, and therefore I want to kind of get on side with him a little bit. However, I'm going in with a little bit of trepidation because Humphries, there is a gap in the level of these two. And if Joyce's level dips, Joyce's averages have been 85, 87, 89. So he's incrementally getting a little bit better game by game. But if he was to dip back to that mid-80s region, there is a chance that Humphries just runs away with this. But I don't think he will. I think it'll be close. I think Joyce will put another credible showing in and go out on his sword. So the way I'm going to play this game, I found a nice little market on Bet365, which they call the double result, which is something we'd be more familiar in other sports with, really. But in darts, the way that they're effectively doing it is who will be leading after 2 sets and then who will go on to win the match. So you have to predict both to win the bet. Now, I was a little bit surprised to find that a draw after 2 sets, but Humphries to win the match is as big as 13-8. Now, given Humphries is a 1-7 shot to win this match with Bet365, they are basically saying it's a 13-10 chance that the first 2 sets are shared. I don't agree with that at all. I'd be amazed if the first 2 sets aren't shared, really. I mean, Joyce has shown in all of his matches that he's a good starter, a quick starter, and he's very reliable on his throw as well. So I think in the early stages of this match, I expect Joyce to give as good as he gets, really. I think it'll be 1-1. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 2-2. And then in the latter stages, we might see Humphries have a little surge and put the game to bed. That's how I see the game kind of panning out. So I'm going to back that double result, which is Humphries, which is but the first 2 sets to be shared, effectively, draw, and then Humphries to win at 13-8. I thought that was a really interesting bet for this one. I do have one other bet I want to back in this one. Ryan Joyce, obviously, I mentioned it. 2 ton plus out against Rob Cross, 135 and a 132 last night. He had another ton plus out against Nathan Aspinall, along with a couple of 96s. So I thought the line of 6-5 about Joyce, 2 or more 100 plus checkouts was a little bit big, to be fair. And in other places, this is an 8-11 chance. So Bet365, a standout 6-5 on Joyce, 2 ton plus checkouts. Given I'm expecting him to make a game of it, and given the significantly extended format, you've got a minimum of 5 sets, whereas the last 2 games he's had a maximum of 5 sets, hasn't he? So I think you've got plenty of scope there for Joyce to get that up at 6-5. So just to summarise, then, my best bets for tonight's semi-finals: 2 bets in the first game. Dimitri van den Bergh to get the win as an underdog, 21-20. I think that is just probably wrong. And van den Bergh on a -2.5 set handicap at 3-1, just because I do think there is a chance with their friendship and personal relationship that this becomes a difficult game for De Decker, and Dimitri's experience helps him close it out quite comfortably. That's the hope and the angle there, although on a personal perspective, I'd like to see De Decker play well, obviously. And then in the second game, as I said, draw after 2 sets and Humphries to win 13-8 Bet365 looks worth a play to me. And Ryan Joyce to have 2 or more ton plus checkouts 6-5. I think that should be an odds-on chance. So they're my 4 bets for tonight's semi-finals. Obviously, we've got 3 up last night. I'd be delighted if we can continue that kind of form, but it won't be easy. Regardless of what happens, I will be back to preview the final tomorrow morning. It'll be here on the YouTube channel. You can also read my in-depth analysis of both games over on oddsnow.com. I'll pop the link in the description. If you haven't already subscribed to Odds Now, would really appreciate it if you do. And I'll be back to speak to you very soon. Thanks for watching.